Well, hey there. This is not the scheduled live because that was the first time I tried pre-scheduling the live and I couldn't figure out how to get that one going. So hopefully you are seeing this and you are able to join me. And if you're watching the replay, thank you so much for making the time. This is going to be, it's one of my favorite topics to talk about. It's how to show up as an expert in other people's Facebook groups. So if you are using Facebook groups in your marketing, which for most businesses, most online service businesses, Facebook groups are a great way to do that. Then I think that you're going to love today's live. If you know anyone else who could benefit from making better use of their time in other people's Facebook groups, go ahead and hit that share button down below and share this video so that more people can join us. If you don't know me or don't know me well, my name is Karie Price, and I'm a brand messaging coach, helping ambitious women business owners find and own the words to stand out, be heard, and make your message roar. Oh, and I see a couple people are joining. Thank you so much for joining me live. Tanya, you saw that I was live by accident, not on that post. Yeah, so that post, I couldn't figure out how to make that go live. So I will follow up on that afterwards. So good morning, Tanya. Good morning, Lucia. Thank you guys so much for joining me. If you know anyone else who could benefit from this live, go ahead and share it. I'm going to jump right in and get started. So if you are here on Facebook, you are likely using Facebook groups as part of your marketing and networking. And chances are you may be making some of the same mistakes that I made when I first started leveraging Facebook groups in my business. Maybe you're in too many groups. You're posting a ton of content, but you don't feel like you're really establishing your expertise. Maybe you're spending hours on Facebook and you're starting to wonder why it's not working, why you're not getting any traction, why no one seems to remember or know you. Trust me, I did the same thing when I first started. I'd heard a lot of people talk about, engage in 3 to 5 groups, post 3 times a day. And I thought, well, gosh, if 3 to 5 groups is good, isn't 10 groups better? And 3 times a day, maybe I need to post more than 3 times a day. So as you can imagine, I was trying to be engaged in 10 groups. I was trying and scrambling to throw out content and frustrated that I was couldn't figure out what to post about, that nobody seemed to be engaging with my posts, and yet I was spending hours on Facebook. Does anyone else feel that way? Oh, thank you for sharing the live, Tanya. I appreciate that. And I was doing what I thought I was doing, all this engagement and interaction, and I just wasn't showing up or being seen as an expert. And Lucia says, yeah, that's funny. I was all over the place in the beginning. I think we all do that. We all think, this is the thing, and I'm just going to go like as hard and fast as I can. And if a little bit's good, then a whole lot's better. What I've learned is that was not effective, and it doesn't have to take that much time to quickly be seen as an expert. So I'm going to be sharing some tips with you on how to do that. So Tanya's asking, what kind of groups? Peers or dream client groups? Both, Tanya, and we're going to talk about that a little bit today. The purpose of engaging in groups and how we can show up and be an expert very, very quickly. Because I'll tell you, I now can engage in a new group, and in less than 3 days, people know exactly what I do, what I stand for, who I can help, and I start getting tagged in posts. So it can happen for you if you think about it a little bit more. You go in with the sort of a right game plan and the key activities that you should be focusing on. But both groups, Tanya, are going to benefit you. Lucia, yes, please share the live right now in your group. I would love that. Thank you so much. Okay. So let's, Tanya, that's actually just a good question to segue. Let's talk about Facebook groups and what the goal or purpose is of groups. Now, we're going to talk about groups that you join for purposes of your business, not for things that you might join for, your personal things that you want to engage in, right? So when you are joining groups for your business, whether it's peer groups or whether it's got potentially your ideal clients, your goal is not actually to try and directly get clients, at least not right away. Now, that is not to say that it's not a good channel for doing that. I've gotten clients directly out of Facebook groups, so it does happen, and not even out of my own. Like, I've gotten clients out of engaging in other people's Facebook groups, but that's not your primary goal when you're starting out. And I think that's part of the frustration and the challenge that a lot of people have, right? You go into all these groups, you're posting, you're everywhere, you feel like you're visible everywhere, and you feel like you're getting nothing in return. And it's because your intention or your goal for engaging in the group might be a little bit off. So I want you to think of being in Facebook groups like a virtual networking event, because that's exactly what it is. And I actually, a couple weeks ago, inside my free Facebook group, the Messaging Den, I actually did a whole mini training on networking. The goal of networking in person or online is not to necessarily go find a new client, come home with a hot lead, right? Joining a Facebook group is not necessarily going to get you that hot lead, especially not right away. What it is about is engaging and building relationships. So when you start to change the way you think about showing up in Facebook groups and you think about it how you might treat an in-person networking event, you'll start to see that the tips I'm going to share with you today make a lot of sense. Okay, so when I show up for a networking event in person or online, I like to think of what value I can bring to the group, right? And I'm looking for connections and relationships. I've shared a little bit before, maybe mostly in my group, that I've taken the StrengthsFinder assessment. My number one StrengthsFinder talent theme is relator. And that means I love to build deep relationships. And I like to be a connector of people. So I'm always looking to connect with people to build my own network so that as I meet people and I can ask them what it is they need, whether I can specifically help them or not, I can connect them to somebody who can help them. That lets me be valuable and beneficial, even if that person is not my ideal client. Now, it doesn't mean that you don't want them to know about you, because they might know your ideal client, right? So I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. But what you can do when you first show up in the groups, besides introducing yourself, by the way, make sure you have an impactful introduction. Have an introduction that quickly builds your relatability, helps people get to know you as a person. If you don't have an impactful introduction, I have a mini program to help you do that. I'm going to assume you have a way to introduce yourself. Then you need to start engaging in the group and being of value and supporting the people that are already there. So you're looking at people's posts, and you're looking for where you can comment and add value. Now, there's two main places or types of posts I want you to be looking for. The ones where people are specifically asking for help from somebody with your expertise, where you can comment, add value, encourage them, and support them. The other one is posts where people are looking for something where it's not your area of expertise, but where you can tag in somebody that you know who is. Again, be a connector, be a giver. This is going to just help you get more visible. People start seeing your name popping up on their posts. Because when people post and they see those notifications, who's commenting, don't just like, comment if you can. Connect them with other people. People really appreciate that. And that's going to start getting you visible and having your name be recognized to people, and shows that you really are looking for connection, relationship. You're not in there just to get a client. Does that make sense? Lisa says, such good info and a great way to look at Facebook groups, the virtual networking. Yeah, that's what it is. We're all in business. We all get our little blinders on, like, I'm out there marketing and my goal is to attract clients. And it is, and I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. But if you approach Facebook groups as a virtual networking opportunity, then you'll see that it has value and benefit to you, even if you don't land a hot prospect right away. Lisa says, I need to get much better at this. We all need to get better at this. It's something that it takes practice, and you'll try different things, and I'll share a couple more tips with you, but you'll try different things, and some will work for you and some won't, and you'll adjust and you'll modify. Okay, Tanya says, as you might know, I was awarded Best Mentor in my industry this year. Yeah, Tanya, you provide so much value for people in your industry and your peers. That is for sure. One of my main recommendations is for newbies to engage in social media groups, but really that in itself is huge. What groups, to what extent, adding what value, and I kind of feel bad for telling people to engage in groups when the reason for joining groups goes so much beyond engage. It's much more about finding the right groups and how to do so. And that in itself is so hard. This is really good. And you're right, Tanya. Here's what I'm going to say about finding the right groups. Try a lot of groups. I have joined dozens of groups. Some of them, as soon as I got in, I sort of read through the thread, kind of get the vibe of the group, I leave. And I'm okay with that. And as a group owner myself, I am not offended with when people leave. If the vibe of the group doesn't resonate for you, move on. There are thousands of groups out there, right? So experiment and try them. And I'm going to talk to you about, for those groups where I'm on the fence, I give it about a 3-week window, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I do in that 3-week window. But you definitely don't spend any more time if the vibe's not right. But beyond the vibe, sometimes you got to give a group a chance to see how beneficial it is for you, right? Because again, it might not always be that they're loaded with your ideal client, but they may be great connections. They may be great possible joint venture opportunities, referral partners, people who also work with your ideal client. You never know who you're going to meet. In any group of people, there are likely a couple people that you can connect with and truly form a deeper relationship with. Get on a virtual coffee chat with them and get to know them better. Find out what they're looking for. Who can you connect to them? And then similarly, have them, let them know who you want them to connect to you. And again, a couple weeks ago, I did a whole mini training on how to maximize your networking. And I think a lot of tips in there still apply. So yes, you want to engage. That's going to get you visible. That's going to help you show up. But you do need to have content that you're sharing. So let's talk about that for a moment. And I am referring to my handy trusty notes because I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. All my thoughts, I got to get them on paper. So what kind of content are you currently sharing when you post in groups? Share with me in the comments. What kinds of things are you putting out there today? How often are you creating new content? How much time are you spending on that when you go to join a new group? What does that look like for you? I'm going to grab a sip of my tea while you guys chat for me in the comments about that. So tell me, what kind of content you're currently putting out there when you're trying to engage in groups. So comment and let me know. And let me tell you that I can now engage in a group. I mentioned this at the beginning of the live. I can engage in a group, and in just 2 to 3 days, people know exactly what I do. It's locked into their minds. They remember my brand position. They remember my messaging. They see me as an expert, and I start getting tagged in. Is that happening for you? Oh, thank you, Tanya. I see that she's sharing some comments. I'm assuming, Tanya, because you're sharing. Yeah. Tanya says, for everyone watching the replay, I took part in Karie's mini class, The Impactful Introduction, and it was a game changer for my corporate communication. Thank you so much for sharing that, Tanya. Yeah, the Impactful Introduction course, if you want more information about that, I'll include a link after this live. It really is a mini messaging course because you only have 7 to 15 seconds to make that first impression, and I help you do that with your introduction. Okay, so let's talk about the kind of content that you want to have queued up and ready. And here's my recommendation for you. Do you have 3 weeks of content, very strategically planned, that builds your credibility and expertise that you can run on autopilot when you join a new group? I have 3 weeks, and it's going to grow, but right now I have 3 weeks of content that my VA even actually helps me post some of that so that I can focus on engagement. Even without my VA, it is on autopilot. I have a system for all of that content that it's basically a sequence of 15 posts that sets me up as an expert when I join a group. Brandy says, the engaging I've been doing is talking about my struggles. I'm working on how to show my expert status. Yes, it's so important. And people want you to be vulnerable and they want you to be real and honest, right? And authentic, but you need to show up as an expert first. You share your vulnerability as part of that, but you want to be seen as an expert from the get-go. Tanya says, no, tell me more. Okay, so here's what I would like you to do. I want you to go look at the content that you're sharing right now, that you would look at sharing in your Facebook groups. And I want you to go count how many posts you have queued up, ready to go to engage or re-engage in a group. I run my 15 post series every few months in the groups where I'm most active in, because these groups are growing and there's new people and people do not see every one of your posts. But despite that, I'm still being able to be seen as an expert in just a handful of days. And by the way, I post once a day in groups. I do not post 3 times a day anymore. I go and spend my time instead on engaging. Okay. Oh, yeah, no problem, Tanya. I know that the translators is you. You posted somewhere else as your page. Yeah, that's fine. So here's what I want you to do. Go count how many posts you have that sets you up as an expert that you could post once a day in a group, and tell me how long you have content ready to go so that you can focus on engaging and building relationships. We're going to take that conversation inside my free Facebook group, The Messaging Den. So go to themessagingden.com or just search for The Messaging Den here on Facebook. I have a link right in the description of this video. Come on into the group. We're going to continue that conversation because I want to know how many posts you already have ready to go so that you can focus on engaging and building relationships in the virtual networking space that is Facebook groups. All right, come on into the Messaging Den and let's finish the discussion there. If this helped shed some light for you on how you may or may not be using Facebook groups to your advantage, I ask that you go ahead and share that video. I want all of you to be confident to show up as an expert in Facebook groups. I want you to know that your message can be heard. This is one of the best ways to make your message roar. I'll see you on the inside of the group. Bye for now.